Well, welcome back to Slowpoke Racing and to the Ultimate Racing League, sponsored by Eldridge Air Conditioning. We are here for race 2 of our BTCC tribute. I keep saying replica, but we did that last time. This is, I'm calling this one the BTCC tribute, so we don't get in trouble with copyrights and all that sort of nonsense. Anyway, as I say, race 2, round 3, and we are at Autopolis on the short course. Fantastic racing in race 1. These guys really are crazy, and we saw some brilliant racing, which resulted in Grasshopper taking the win just ahead of Brian Moncani and Thomas. So Grasshopper back on pole position again. He's kind of getting comfortable in that position, isn't he? On pole position. Obviously won't be there in race 3 because it's a reverse grid, unless he finishes either 8th or 9th, then he'll find himself back on pole again. But anyway, a little bit more about that for race 3. Onwards and upwards with race 2. So let's just go down the grid. As I've already said, Grasshopper finds himself on pole position again. Brian Moncani tucked in just behind him in 2nd. Thomas is 3rd. Chris is 4th. Unforgiven 5th. Gifted the place really from Wayne G almost on the last lap. But Unforgiven will take it nevertheless. Had to be there, didn't he, to take advantage. Wayne G in 6th, Rossi in 7th. Starting to get to grips with this car now, Rossi. So keep an eye out for him. Starting to creep his way up through the grid. Hodgie in 8th, Dan 9th, Taff is 10th, Fazer 11th. Not a great race in race 1 for Fazer. He was on the medium tyres, so he's got 2 sets of softs ahead of him now. So hoping for better things from Fazer. And then Hawkeye in 12th. So back up to the top, and let's get this race underway. 5 lights on and wait for them to go out. And there we go, off we go again. And another great start from Unforgiven. Those Alphas really do like to fly off the line, same as the Toyota. Brian Moncani straight the way into the lead. Although Grasshopper's got the inside line going into turn 1, Brian Moncani shuts that door very, very quickly. Didn't want to let Grasshopper get through again like he did in race 1. So Brian Moncani now leading Unforgiven up into 3rd already. You can see Thomas having a bit of a look up the inside in 5th. But Grasshopper into 2nd, Unforgiven up into 3rd. Thomas trying desperately to find a way through. Chris is in there as well. This really is elbows out. Unforgiven on the inside as they go through turn 6. It is all very, very tight there. It is all very, very too wide. Chris and Wayne G going side by side. So let's let them calm down a little bit before we have a look at these positions. Brian Moncani, we know, is in front, already got a car or 2 length gap between himself and Grasshopper. Unforgiven in 3rd, then Thomas up to 4th. Wayne G in 5th and already trying to put the pressure on the guys in front of him. Oh, Chris coming in very hot in 6th there, almost catching the back of Wayne G as Wayne G tucks right up underneath Unforgiven. Now then, these guys have got nitrous available to them, but not on the first lap. So it is just going to be slipstreaming for now. Rossi in 7th, then we've got Hodgie, Dan, Taff in 10th, Fazer, and then Hawkeye, but everybody following everybody. Hawkeye pulls to the inside to have a look at the inside of Fazer. Has he got the job done? No, Fazer cuts across him and slams the door shut. Oh, and he goes very wide, but comes back onto the track, almost slingshots himself in front of, well, who is it? It's Taff. Yes, he almost slingshot himself in front of Taff. Accidentally, but Taff keeps going, is in P10, Fazer in 11th and Hawkeye in 12th. So these 3 having their own private little battle back here, but while they are fighting away, the rest of the pack seems to be pulling away from them. So they really do need to get a move on to catch back up again. So let's go back up to the top, and Brian Moncani still out in front, but we've had a change in 2nd position. It's Thomas now has moved his way up into 2nd on the soft tyres. And Grasshopper down into 3rd. Grasshopper choosing to use the mediums in this race, so he's saving his 2nd set of softs for race 3. Hoping for a good finish, I think, in this race, so that he can move his way through the grid in race 3, but tucked underneath the rear bumper there of Thomas. Let's jump on board with Grasshopper. As he pulls to the inside, Thomas starts to drift over, but realises Grasshopper's there. Grasshopper holding his line into turn 1. Thomas just takes it around the outside, really not bothered. whether Grasshopper had the inside line or not. A quick look behind us, Grasshopper being chased by Unforgiven. Wayne G just tucked in behind him as we come through turns 3 up into turn 4, 5. This is a double hander before hitting the hairpin at turn 6. It is Thomas in P2. Oh, as Grasshopper nearly took the back end of that Focus out then of Thomas, but Thomas keeps going. Oh, Grasshopper just clocked the car, slowed down in time. Around turn 7 and 8 they go. Turn 8 is the 100R turn, which is, I think it's part of the normal track actually, through turn 9 then, past the penalty zone and into turn 10, and Grasshopper having another bit of a look at the inside. It really is menacing Thomas, is he? Thomas has really got to be on his guard here as Grasshopper gets right into the slipstream again. Now then, that NOS can be used, and I've got a feeling Thomas just had a quick burst of it then to try and keep Grasshopper behind him. And I'm guessing that's what he did. They do tend to try and hold on to that nitrous as long as they possibly can. Brian Moncarney has used a little bit, but just to open the gap, and that's exactly what he's done. So good racing so far from Brian Moncarney to keep himself in the lead. Thomas in second. He just cannot shake Grasshopper off. While those two are fighting away, Wayne G is creeping up. And, well, Wiper's going. So is it getting a little bit slippy out there? Are we expected for a bit of rain? I didn't check the weather forecast beforehand. Now the wipers are going on Wayne G's car. Maybe it just bugs. Well, no, all the wipers are going. So let's jump on board with Wayne G. And there is a few spots of rain. Well, this is going to be interesting if the track starts to get wet, because the guys will have to come in to get those tyres changed, unless any of them are absolute, well, they are crazy for driving these things, but they've got to even be more crazy to stay out there in the wet on slick tyres. The track will start to get a bit slippy. I'm looking at the wet indicator, which is, for those that don't know, it's the one on the left. If you look down at the bottom left of the screen, next to the tyres, you will see a little indicator there, and that tells you how wet the track is. And at the minute, it's not showing anything. As Wayne G pulls a fantastic manoeuvre on Thomas, if he can get that car slowed down enough into turn 1, and I thought he'd done it, but Thomas just got the old switcheroo there, and in fact as he slingshotted himself in front of Grasshopper as well. So a brilliant move there, a bit of door touching, and Grasshopper lost a tenth or two there, but manages to hold on to P3 as Wayne G starts to put the pressure on. So the two Focus guys ganging up on Grasshopper at the minute in the BMW. Lights are on, the wipers were going, although it does look like the rain may have stopped. I was hoping for a bit of rain. That really does liven things up a bit, doesn't it? Unforgiven then in 5th, just sticking to the back of this little group. Chris in 6th, Hodgie in 7th, and just behind him we've got Dan in 8th with Rossi looking menacing and trying to force a mistake from Dan. Rossi will just keep that pressure on. If he can get into the slipstream, then he may even make a move on him, but we shall see. Is it it's Renault against Mercedes power here, and let's just see who's got the beans. I think Rossi may have it with the help of the slipstream, may have even just flicked the old nitrous button a little bit there as well, but maybe Dan did the same thing. Rossi slightly more nitrous in the tank, so maybe just saving that. If he can stay in the slipstream of Dan, he won't need to use as much, and therefore save it for the last few laps. Then we've got Taff in 10th. Things have calmed down a little bit for him, with Fazer in 11th and Hawkeye in 12th. Hawkeye unfortunately down in 12th with a half a second penalty. That's not going to help either. Up at the top though, Brian Moncarney opened up quite a lead actually very early on. We are on lap 6 and we are only 7 minutes into this race. It is looking very murky out there, isn't it? So who knows if the rain comes. I'm sure Brian Moncarney is hoping the rain doesn't come. He's on the soft tyres. He's just racked up the fastest lap, a 1:12.6. So Brian Moncarney will hoping the rain does not come. However, I'm sure the likes of Grasshopper and Thomas and Wayne G are all praying for rain to try and slow him down as Thomas looks at the inside of Grasshopper into turn 1. Hard onto the brakes. Grasshopper, I think, was hoping to try and get the cut back there, but there was no doing. Thomas just held his line. and there was nowhere for Grasshopper to go then, so good move from Thomas, used the slipstream well, and up into second, so Grasshopper back down to third again. Wayne G in fourth, and now he's eyeing Grasshopper as well, maybe thinking about making a move. Wayne G back to the familiar red wheels that he likes to run with. I don't think he had them on last week, I think they were white, which is probably why he didn't do as well as what we thought he would. So back onto the red wheels, and it really makes a difference. It does make you go quicker when you have red wheels. So Wayne G in fourth then. So we've got a Focus, then a BMW, and then a Focus in fourth, and Grasshopper picking up the slipstream of Thomas just ahead of him. Wayne G needs to get a little bit closer to Grasshopper to try and stay in that slipstream. I think you have to be about 8/10, and you can see Grasshopper's already positioned his car where he wants it. I'm just going to stay with these guys as Grasshopper just breezes past Thomas, so maybe a help from a bit of nitrous there. Thomas looking for the old switcheroo, gets that tighter inside line, but I think Grasshopper's wise to it this time. Yes, he is. So Grasshopper knew exactly what Thomas was going to do and made that BMW as wide and as fat as he possibly could, so that Thomas had got no room to fight back. So Grasshopper on the medium tyres up into P2, Thomas on the softs into P3. Then we've got Wayne G also on a set of soft tyres in P4, Unforgiven on the softs in P5. Chris has chosen the mediums for race 2, and he's got a mirror full of Hodgie also on the mediums. So these two guys saving their last set of soft tyres for race 3. Then we've got Dan also on the mediums, with Rossi chasing him down also with the mediums. So a lot of the guys choosing the mediums for race 2, so they're saving the softs for that final sprint race. Into turn 10 we go for the 8th time, just as we approach the halfway line, and Rossi looking to try and get by Dan. He's got to get a little bit closer, maybe, yeah, press the old nitrous button, which is what he's doing. Now it's not limitless, this nitrous, you have to be sparing with it. Now obviously the thing is as well, you don't know how much the car in front has got, and we do, we have that privilege, and Dan has not got a lot left. He's got just over a quarter of a tank of nitrous left, and whoops, Rossi just under half a tank. So Rossi has got the advantage as far as nitrous goes, but as I say, he won't know how much Dan's got in that tank, so he's just got to stick with him, and Rossi doing a good job of that, and that's exactly what Rossi does. He gets right up underneath you and just gives you nothing but hassle and forces mistakes. This is what Rossi's very good at doing. So Dan just got to keep his cool and concentrate on his own race. Try not to get too put off with the fact that he's got this green Renault chasing him down. Taff in 10th with Hawkeye in 11th, a bit spread out at the back, and then poor old Phaser, what has happened, he's got damage at the front, damage set to heavy as well, so if the guys want it repaired they're going to have to come into the pit. So I'm sure Phaser is just praying for this race to be over. It is really not panning out how he wanted it, and this is definitely not what Phaser's about either. He is a pretty quick guy actually, so it can only be a big off that has caused him to be this far back, and maybe even a pit stop to get all the damage repaired. And I'm just going to have a look and see whether he's coming in. No, he's not. He's decided to stay out. He's going to keep going with it. Obviously the aero is going to be affected because the damage is up at the front. Wow, poor old Phaser. Anyway, back up to the top, and Brian Moncani, look at the gap he's got back to Grasshopper. Brian Moncani on the soft tyres in the Toyota. Do you know what? I'm going to find out what Toyota it is before we get to race 3. So that is going to be my homework. I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to definitely find out. So anyway, Brian Moncani out in front by quite a margin actually. Back to Thomas in second. He's still fighting with Grasshopper, and this is going to play right into Brian Moncani's hands. These two battling away is going to slow them down a little bit. Grasshopper pushing all the way. Let's jump on board with Grasshopper as we go into turn 4. then into the double left-hander of 4 and 5 before hitting turn 6 hairpin. And Grasshopper having a look all the way around the outside, or is he just trying to get the cut back? Either way, Thomas just puts that focus right in the middle of the track, so there's no room at all for Grasshopper. As we go around 100 R at turn 8, Thomas taking as much track as he possibly can. Grasshopper is going to go all the way around the outside as they hit turn 10, maybe trying to get onto the brakes a little bit earlier to look for the old cutback. And well, side by side, what fantastic racing from them two guys. Let's just go, we're going to go back and have a look at that. We've got to, haven't we? And we'll use the old chase cam view. So as they come around 100R, this is turn 8. This is where Thomas goes just a little bit too deep into that turn, I think, and Grasshopper saw the opportunity. He's on the outside though as they hit turn 10, sorry, and it is side by side all the way around turn 10 through turn 11 and 12, and then onto the straight, and Grasshopper just getting his nose in front. A blast on the old nitrous will secure that position for him. Thomas, well, he's got loads left, hasn't he? Again, he doesn't like to use it too early, does he, Thomas? Saves it up for the last few laps. But brilliant racing from these two, and you can see Thomas taking that familiar, very tight line into turn 1, gets his wheels up on the curb. Grasshopper then still in P2 with Thomas in P3. Wayne G in P4 just cannot seem to catch up to the two guys in front of them. Bit of breathing space back to Unforgiven, but Unforgiven's coming. He's starting to get to grips now with that Alpha. So I think we shall start to see Unforgiven creeping up and getting himself onto the podium in future races. Maybe even do this one. Who knows? But he is starting to get to grips with it. Chris in 4th. And not under a massive amount of pressure from Hodgie. He seems to be maintaining the gap. Let's have a look at the old nitrous with just over 5 minutes to go. Chris on the medium tyres with just under a quarter of a tank of nitrous left. Hodgie, well, he's got well, just under half a tank, so plenty left for Hodgie. So Hodgie on the straight, I think he really needs to start hitting that nitrous button now to catch up to the back of Chris. He obviously doesn't know how much nitrous Chris has got, but I think Hodgie needs to try and get himself just a little bit closer with only 5 minutes, well, less than 5 minutes to go now. So if Hodgie wants to nick that P6 away from Chris, he needs to get closer, and he needs to hurry up and do it. Dan in 9th. Well, all on his own now. Oh, he's not. No, he's not. He's with Rossi. I was looking at the map in the top right hand corner, and there's only the one red triangle there, but he's not. He's with Rossi. Rossi just ahead of him now in P8. These two having a fantastic battle, aren't they? Rossi was behind Dan for a lot of this race and has found a way past, so apologies we missed that. But Dan fighting back. He is not going to give up P8 that easily, is he? And he really is sticking with Rossi. They now go side by side through turn 8, and Dan regains that position 8, although Rossi on the inside through 9. Then it's up to 10, and it is still side by side. Fantastic stuff from these two guys. Into turn 10 they go. Rossi is on the inside and has got the tighter line. Dan looking for the cutback. Can't get it done, so just instead slots right in behind Rossi underneath the rear wing. Now then, is he going to have a look as they come down the straight? Yes, he is, but Rossi defending. Rossi lets him know very early on that he's going to hold on to that inside line. Dan goes by with the help of nitrous. Now he's got none left at all, but moves up into P8. Rossi with, well, quarter of a tank of the old NOS stuff. So Rossi could use it on the next lap to regain P8 if he can get the job done before. I'm sure he'll want to. Brilliant stuff from these two as Rossi has another look at Dan. We don't know where to go next, do we? We're just going to stick with these two just for the next couple of turns as they go around the hairpin at turn 6, and it is Rossi all over the back of Dan. Rossi with a bit of nitrous. He has used a bit there, and he keeps tapping that button just to try and keep himself with Dan. Dan has got nothing left in the nitrous tank. Rossi doesn't know that though. as they come around turn 9 up towards turn 10. Now then, I'm sure Rossi is just going to sit there behind Dan, get a good exit out of turn 11 and 12, and then he will get the power on to try and get the move done before they hit turn 1. There we go, through turn 12 onto the straight, 902 meters. It is a sprint now to the turn 1. Dan hugging that inside line, and Rossi just staying there. Rossi actually calls his bluff. Dan moves over onto the racing line, and Rossi just stays with him. I thought Rossi would have hit the old NOS button there to try and get by. We'll leave them two to it. Taff all on his own. Everybody's left him, but he's still going. Let's have a look at his laps. Right, Brian Moncani with the fastest lap of 1:12. Unfortunately, Taff's last lap was a 1:17, so 5 seconds off of Brian Moncani's pace, or fastest lap anyway. So struggling a little bit with that GTI. Hawkeye in 11. Oh, as Phaser has another big spin. Let's just have a quick look and see what happened. It looked like it was coming out of turn 1. Phaser was chasing Hawkeye down. Now I'm just looking at the NOS button. He's not got his finger on it now. Oh, a bit too much grass. Bit too much grass for the on the rear wheels. Oh dear, then he reversed onto the kitty litter. That's unfortunate. That's dropped him even further back. So not a great race for Phaser. Back up to the top though, and Brian Moncani with a massive lead back to Thomas in second. So Brian Moncani looks like he's cruising to the win. Oh, a minute and 20 seconds left. So let's have a look. He may get one more lap out of this, but Brian Moncani absolutely dominating race 2 here at Autopolis in Japan, looking very comfortable. He's got the fastest lap. He has eased off a little bit, but then again, why not? Thomas in second. Things have calmed down a bit now for him. He's all on his own in second place. Wayne G in the other Focus made his way up into P3. What happened to Grasshopper actually? Grasshopper down in 7th. I'm not going to be able to find that, are we? Let's have a look. Oh, it was a bit of a... I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Where are we now? We are coming round the hairpin at turn 6. Grasshopper in 3rd, all over Thomas. Oh, just too much power on the back end. Big old snog with Barry R there. And poor old Grasshopper struggling to get the car going. So that was where Grasshopper came unstuck. So back up to where we were. We are on lap 16. We are in the last 30 seconds of this race 2. That was the seat one. So Brian Moncani well out in front, and maybe even looking. Is that far in front. Thomas in second, Wayne G in third. We have 10 seconds to go, so we are going to start going down the grid now to see who is going to be finishing first. It may well be Grasshopper actually in 7th, which may well play into his hands actually. But Grasshopper finishing 7th, Rossi 8th, Dan 9th. Taff around the final couple of turns, he will finish 10th. Hawkeye will finish 11th. Yes, he will. He will finish before the others get there. Now, as I was saying, because of the top 8 reverse grid for race 3, that will probably put Grasshopper up there in the top 3, I think, for the start of race 3. Phaser will cross the line in 12th, so our race winner, Brian Moncani, flash of the lights to celebrate. Great racing from him, dominated almost from the start, so brilliant stuff from Brian Moncani. Thomas, great racing from Thomas, had a fantastic battle, didn't he, with Grasshopper. And with Wayne G in there as well, but Thomas finishing second. Wayne G across the line in 3rd. That's more like it from him. Unforgiven in 4th. He's a bit of a bit of a race then. Let's just go back and have a look at that. A bit of a drag race between Chris and Hodgie. Around turn 10 they go. Chris in 5th, Hodgie in 6th. And it is a proper drag race now to the finish line. Chris just holding on to 5th position, but Hodgie, oh, he just couldn't find a way by, could he? So Chris gets 5th, Hodgie 6th, Grasshopper 7th, as we've already said. Wow, what a close finish for those two. Join me very, very shortly for race 3 when we'll be back here at Autopolis with the Ultimate Racing League.